The forest buzzed with life as our group of friends unpacked near the lake, the sun dipping low behind the trees. Laughter echoed between the pines. Tents popped up like mushrooms after rain, and the air was thick with the scent of pine and firewood. It should have been the perfect escape, but my thoughts were tangled from the moment we arrived, because Ryan was here. Ryan, my best friend since we were kids, the one who always knew what to say to make me laugh, who stood by me when others didn't, the one who had no idea I'd fallen for him years ago. He was effortlessly magnetic. Messy blonde hair, sun-warmed skin, and that smile that made people gravitate toward him like moths to a flame. He never looked at me the way I looked at him, but I had long grown used to hiding that. As we set up our tents, the others already halfway through theirs, Ryan's voice rang out, frustrated. "Dude, my pole snapped." He held up the broken metal like it had personally offended him. "Guess you're sleeping under the stars," someone joked. But Ryan shook his head and turned to me. "Mind if I crash in yours?" My heart hiccuped. I masked it with a shrug. "Yeah, sure. There's space." That night, after the fire had died down and everyone had retreated to their shelters, we lay side by side in the narrow tent. Our sleeping bags barely separated us. His bare shoulder brushed mine in the dark. Neither of us said anything at first. "I forgot how quiet the woods are," he whispered, his voice strangely thoughtful. "Kind of peaceful." I murmured agreement, though I wasn't at peace, not with my heart pounding against my ribs and my mind wandering into places it shouldn't. For years, I had convinced myself my feelings didn't matter, that I could live just being near him. But sharing this small space, hearing his steady breathing beside me, made that quiet lie unravel. I was painfully aware of every inch between us, and every inch that wasn't. "You good?" he asked suddenly, voice soft. "Yeah," I said, too quickly. He shifted, propping himself up on one elbow. Even in the dark, I could feel his eyes on me. "You seem off." I wanted to say everything. That lying here beside him was agony. That pretending I was okay being just friends had become unbearable. But I just said, "Just tired." He laid back down without pressing further. Minutes passed, then an hour. His breathing slowed. I stayed wide awake, staring at the curve of the tent above us. In the silence, I whispered words I hoped would dissolve into the night. I wish things were different. He didn't stir. I closed my eyes, knowing this trip had only just begun, but something inside me had already shifted. The days passed with a rhythm that felt both effortless and unsteady. The mornings were filled with hikes, laughter, and shared jokes around the fire, while the nights brought a quieter intimacy, where the real weight of unspoken feelings settled like dew on the tent walls. Ryan and I did everything together, cooked over the fire, helped the others gather wood, wandered off to explore hidden trails. To anyone watching, we were just two close friends enjoying the wilderness. But something had shifted in the way he looked at me, and I couldn't tell if I was imagining it, or if he felt it too. One evening, after a long hike, we sat at the edge of the lake, watching the sky turn shades of orange and pink. The water mirrored the fading light, and Ryan tossed small stones across the surface, his brows furrowed in thought. "You ever feel like you're not really who people think you are?" he asked, voice low, almost hesitant. I glanced at him, startled. "What do you mean?" He shrugged. "I don't know. Like you've got this version of yourself that everyone sees, but inside, you're not sure if that's really you." The weight of his words lingered between us. I wanted to reach out to tell him he wasn't alone in feeling that way, but I nodded slowly instead, choosing my words carefully. "Yeah, I think about that a lot." He didn't respond, but his eyes met mine, longer than they needed to. It wasn't just a glance. It was searching, uncertain, and laced with something I couldn't define. That night, the rain came without warning. We scrambled into our tent, soaked and laughing. The air inside was humid and close, the sound of the rain drumming above us almost comforting. Ryan peeled off his damp hoodie, muscles flexing under the dim glow of my flashlight. He caught me, looking, and smiled, but didn't say a word. We lay side by side again, only this time closer. His arm brushed mine and didn't move away. Our conversation drifted into quieter, more personal territories, fears, regrets, things we never told anyone. I listened to him speak with a vulnerability I had never seen before. And in that moment, it felt like we were suspended between friendship and something far more fragile, far more dangerous. As the rain softened, he turned toward me, eyes half-lidded, with exhaustion. His hand grazed mine, not by accident, and lingered. My breath caught. Neither of us moved. Neither of us spoke. And in the silence that followed, something passed between us that couldn't be named, only felt. It was electric, terrifying, and tender. I didn't know what it meant, but I knew. I wouldn't be able to go back to pretending this was nothing. Not after this. The third night was colder than the others. A stillness had settled over the campsite, broken only by the occasional crack of wood in the fire and the distant hoot of an owl. Ryan and I sat shoulder to shoulder near the flames, wrapped in blankets, watching embers float upward like restless spirits. The others had gone to sleep early, leaving us alone in the dark hush of the forest. Something in the air felt unfinished, as if a question had been hanging between us for too long. He leaned in slightly, voice low. "Can I ask you something? But you have to promise to be honest." My stomach tightened. "Okay. Have you ever had feelings for someone you knew you weren't supposed to?" His eyes didn't leave mine. I hesitated. Every cell in my body screamed caution, but I nodded. "Yeah, I have." He didn't look away. "Is it someone I know?" I swallowed hard, the silence pressing in from all sides. "It's you, Ryan." For a long moment he said nothing. His expression didn't shift. No disgust, no shock, just stillness. Then, softly, "I thought maybe. I wasn't sure." My pulse roared in my ears. "I'm sorry. I never wanted to make things weird between us. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't feel it." Ryan stared into the fire, jaw clenched. Then, without warning, he reached over and took my hand. "I don't know what I'm doing," he murmured, "but I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since we got here." The world slowed. I turned toward him, barely breathing. "You don't have to know. Just be honest." He leaned in. The kiss was hesitant, searching, warm. It felt like coming home and walking into the unknown all at once. His fingers brushed my cheek, lingering like he didn't want to let go. We didn't say much after that. We just lay together in the tent, limbs tangled, hearts exposed. For the first time in years, I felt seen, wanted. Morning came with sharp light and a different kind of silence. Ryan dressed quickly, barely meeting my eyes. The softness in him from the night before had vanished, replaced by distance. I told myself it was nerves, confusion. But when I saw him later, laughing with the others like nothing had happened, my chest tightened. And then I heard it. His voice, casual, careless. "Some people read too much into one night in a tent." Laughter followed, not mine. The words hit like ice water. He wasn't just denying what happened, he was erasing it. I turned away before anyone saw my face, before the betrayal could fully register in my expression. Last night had felt like everything, but to him, it was just a passing storm. The drive home was quiet. Ryan sat beside me in the passenger seat, scrolling through his phone, laughing, occasionally at something he never shared. I kept my eyes on the road, the trees passing in a blur, but my mind was stuck on that one moment. His hand in mine, his mouth pressed against mine, the illusion of something real. I wanted to ask him why. Why he let it happen. Why he said what he did afterward. But I knew the answer wouldn't heal anything. Some wounds don't need explanations. They need distance. Back in the city, our group disbanded with hugs and promises to plan another trip. Ryan gave me a slap on the back and a grin like everything was fine. I gave him a nod and turned away before he could see the truth. That something inside me had splintered, that I was done pretending. Days passed. He didn't call, didn't text. Neither did I. The silence between us grew louder than any argument could have. I'd replayed that night in my mind more times than I could count. His touch, his kiss, the way his breath trembled like he needed it too. I wondered if he'd ever think of it again, if it haunted him the way it haunted me. Probably not. For him, it was a moment of weakness. For me, it was the closest I'd ever come to being truly loved. I tried to fill the void. Long walks, deep breaths, distractions. I deleted our pictures, muted his profile. But grief isn't loud. It's quiet. It waits in the spaces between tasks, in the echo of your own footsteps, in the silence of a phone that never lights up. Eventually, I found my way back to the woods, alone this time. Same lake, same trees, same quiet sky. I set up my tent with steady hands and no broken poles. That night, I lit a small fire and sat with my journal, writing not to forget, but to remember truthfully. He didn't break my heart with cruelty. He broke it with confusion, with fear, maybe even with shame. But that didn't make it hurt less. I closed the journal, watching the flames flicker and fade. Above me, the stars looked the same as they did that night beside him, but I wasn't the same. Love, when given honestly, even to the wrong person, doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. I stood up, breathed in the cold air, and let the silence wrap around me, not as an enemy, but as a companion. He would always be a chapter, but I was ready to write the rest without him.